This is Aaron Fairbanks and Eugenia Jaiko. I am Mike McLenathan, and we are going to talk about the city of Melbourne in Victoria, Australia. So some basic facts about the city. The residential population is just under 100,000 people. They're growing at about 3% a year. 3% population growth doesn't sound like a lot, but if you look at today, where they're about 100,000, in 30 years, that's going to be about a 75% growth. And so when you're thinking in terms of climate, 30 years is not that long, and you're looking at a lot of people moving in. Another interesting thing to note that we'll keep coming back to is the average daytime population is just under 800,000. That means that there's about an 8 times multiplier of who's in the city on a daily basis versus who actually lives there.
So Melbourne is a coastal city sharing a border with Port Phillips Bay. It also has 3 major waterways, and the city center is surrounded by the suburbs. The climate is slightly warmer than New York City's. The reduced rainfall will decrease by 7% by 2030 and by 21% in 2070. So this impacts the water supply shortage, the reduction in stream flow, and drought period of the city. The sea level rise is expected to increase 5 to 15 centimeters by 2030, 16 to 47 centimeters by 2070. So the 1 in 100 year floods are going to occur every couple of months. This is estimated by the 50 centimeter increase in sea level rise. This would affect the salination of streams, groundwater, and water supply. Now, as the reduced rainfall is occurring, the periodic instances of rain will increase. So this would cause flooding and storm surge and water source contamination from runoff. Heat waves are going to exacerbate medical conditions and primarily affect the growing elderly population in the city of Melbourne. Brush fire instances will increase, and those are highly expensive to treat. There's going to be a 62% increase in total mortality rates, which is 374 more deaths in 3 days of temperatures of 100 degrees and more. This weather would affect the transportation. Your roadways will be significantly damaged, halting transportation and your commute into the city and from the city. This will also stress the energy grid, as you will want to run your air conditioner if you have one. So there could be instances of power outages. Flooding is also a significant event in Melbourne. Property damage is kind of the most quantifiable measure here. 1 in 4 businesses do not reopen after this event because they simply cannot afford the insurance or the property damage that is associated with it. It is common that the sewer system will be backed up and there will be spillage onto the streets and into the waterways. The CBD, which is the Central Business District, which is where a lot of businesses and a lot of clubs and other events are hosted, is most prone to flooding.
There has been a real focus on major infrastructure investments, primarily through public-private partnerships. 2 of them looking at kind of bolstering the city's water supply would be one, it's a 43-mile pipeline that will bring water from the Goulburn River down into the city's water catchment area. The desalination plant that I had mentioned earlier, another public-private partnership, and that's a huge project, $3.1 billion, and is forecasted to be able to treat about 150 billion liters of water per year. However, both of those projects have been characterized by communication difficulties and kind of the stresses of working between the public and the private sector. Looking at response mechanisms for climate change, we thought about water supply and demand adaptations in addition to disaster readiness, where we focus on at-risk populations like the increasing aging population and engaging with the private sector. With regards to water, we feel like there's real opportunities to look at land use and new development policies that focus on an increase in density. There is room for kind of refurbishing of existing structures within the city, And there has been talk about expanding the zoning area to build in areas that are currently green space at the city edges, and we would recommend avoiding that because building on that area decreases the amount of land that's available to absorb rainwater.
So one suggestion we had was they have these safe shelters, which are really used because one other thing they've already adapted to is the fact that people are fairly commonly stranded in the city because of transport interruptions. And so we'd like to propose that they make those more mixed-use things and create an awareness campaign and provide transportation to get people who are at risk, these people 65 or older who are really at the most risk during those heat waves, to get into those places and to be somewhere that's safe and where they can be monitored. The other thing that we talked about with regards to firms is those same transit interruptions are not only a huge inconvenience to the people who live in the city, but can be devastating to firms. And we talked about the firms not reopening after floods. One is the expense. Another reason for that is that people are not able to get into the city for a long time. If you can create a system now where firms can sort of operate on a regular basis with people maybe not in the office, then when these flood events happen and when transport is shut down for a long time, firms can still, at least at some level, continue to operate. There is a small mitigation co-benefit there. You're taking people off a transport system which is already taxed. At rush hour, it already operates at capacity. And obviously, everyone who drives, you're going to reduce the commuter emissions there too.